Today's speech is a persuasive speech, and I chose the topic that Zionism is not anti-Semitism. And I chose this topic because I think it's a confusing subject, and the two terms are often used interchangeably when they mean two different things. I've recently had two coworkers tell me that they don't like Jews, and I believe that anti-Semitism is growing. This is a really racist caricature. It's the typical. It's it's biblical. That's how old anti-Semitism goes back. It's very old racism, and this is pretty typical stuff when you look up. It's sometimes tied to like anti-Zionist movements, is what I mean. A lot of times, whether it's religious reasonings or passed down superstitions, this form of racism is fueled by the conflation of Zionism and Judaism. Israel identifies itself as an ethno-state. Some have found it difficult to criticize Israel without guilt or being accused of anti-Semitism. So to make sense of this logic, I want to first define anti-Semitism. So I chose the definition from state.gov. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred, rhetorical, and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism, and are directed toward Jewish individuals, groups, institutions, or religious facilities. And then we would start by also defining Zionism. So I chose the definition from jewishvoiceforpeace.org. Zionism is the belief that Israel must exist as a Jewish state. Zionism is a form of nationalism. Nationalism was a separatist project. It's from the 19th century. It's a belief that Jews will not be safe until Israel exists as a Jewish state. Joe Biden is a self-identified Zionist. He has been on television and he says that he is a Zionist. It's a title that he's claimed for himself, and he's Catholic. And so you do not have to be Jewish or any sort of particular ethnicity to believe in Zionism. Zionism is just the belief that Israel must exist as a Jewish state. So I said earlier Zionism is really old, but I'm going to start after World War II. After World War II, you had just had the Holocaust, and the end of the nationalist movements were coming to an end as well. Nationalism was a movement of the 19th century, and that's what Israel is modeled after. But after the Holocaust, a lot of Jews were displaced, and they didn't really have a place to call home. And European countries and the United States wouldn't let them just immigrate into their countries. I think that's because there was still a lot of anti-Semitism at that time, even after the Holocaust had happened. Historian Tony Judt describes Israel as a late 19th century separatist project, a form of nationalism that was introduced and the world had moved on. The very idea of a Jewish state in which Jews and the Jewish religion have exclusive privileges from which non-Jewish citizens are forever excluded. So you have second-class citizens, essentially. And a lot of those second-class citizens are ethnically Jewish. It's just not the right kind of Jewish. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about there, but something like that. Anti-Semitism and Zionism are often conflated. This is intentional. This is not an accident. So that when you criticize Israel or Zionism, then you would be attacking Judaism. And that's because Israel is a Jewish state, also known as an ethno-state. You wouldn't say the United States is a white state, a country. It's the same thing. So there's kind of irony in that how Zionism was created in response to anti-Semitism, when Zionism in itself is racist. So Judaism and Zionism are not similar. It implies if you condemn the actions of Israel, then you are racist. It's implied because Israel is an ethno-state. But the true answer is that Israel has the right to exist as a nation of equal rights. And so this is a picture of a war crime. I believe this is somewhere in Gaza. If people are confusing Zionism and anti-Semitism, that would mean that you're confusing race with a state, essentially. That mean that you would blame. Some people would lead to the conclusion that Jews are responsible for war crimes like this, and that is a problem. That's going to spread anti-Semitism. We should not be conflating Zionism and an ethnicity. But it's normal to feel outrage when you see photos like this, and I think when people are confused or don't understand, they become angry and turn to violence. The U.S. and Israeli politics are intertwined. U.S. interests involve colonialism, military strategy, and religious agendas. Many Zionists are dual citizens. They donate their money to different lobbies, and these lobbies pay our politicians to vote in a particular way. Many of our politicians are corrupt in that way. They just vote in favor of their biggest donors, like such as AIPAC. In many states, it's illegal or to boycott Israel, and they call these anti-BDS laws. I believe that's a good example of the kind of corruption that we have in our politics. Because, freedom of speech. TikTok was banned, and then after that didn't go well for them, they forced the sale of it, and that's because young people were seeing war crimes. They were seeing an ethnic cleansing or a genocide happening, and they're trying to squash that. They don't want you to see it. I present this speech in good faith. It's a volatile topic and potentially a very offensive one. And I just wanted to create clarity between Zionism and anti-Semitism because they're not the same thing. And I think we have to start by acknowledging the problems that are right in front of us, and we can't ignore this any longer since our country is funding this genocide in Gaza. Thank you. I turned around like I'm going to walk away.